All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule very well, very beautifully. Double citations to the Akim who pushing his gospel in truth and in sincerity to the best of their ability. Given to them by Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Lord willing, fall upon your houses. This is Brother Quanah Watts from the Arizona Great Millstone Camp, coming back at you, Lord will, with the edifying lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Lord will. It is edifying, Lord will. It is straight to the point. And I ultimately, wanted to add, right, to the priest Isaac Watt's, video that he did earlier today. As you see right here, his YouTube channel is Psalms, GMS Psalms for Thought. It says, and the title is Divine Evacuation Orders. Now I am going to play, a few minutes, of this, the priest Isaac Watt's video, because again, he starts off making a very beautiful point, right? Again, going into the divine evacuation orders that we have been given, right, to spiritually leave off, right, from this fucking world, man. This destroyed, distraught ass world, man, right, ruled by, the wicked, right, which we know is Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed so-called white man, right? Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, and he's done nothing but destroy this fucking place, man. Destroy the air, the water, right, the soil, the earth itself, as a whole, So without further ado, I'm gonna play again just a few minutes. I think 5 minutes of this video. I'm gonna play, and then we'll grab a few scriptures and get out of here.
Well, and I'm the brother Isaac Watt here from the Great Millstone Dallas Camp. All right, coming back this morning through the spirit and the power of Yahweh Shema Shai to do another lesson. And Lord's will, this lesson will be edifying unto the elect of the nation of Israel, and glorifying unto the names of my power, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. And I want to briefly touch into the topic at hand. As you can read the title, it says Divine Evacuation Orders. All right, Divine Evacuation Orders. Okay, and that's what we've been given. We've been served, okay, an order. We've been served, all right, divine evacuation orders. All right, divine, as it comes from, all right, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. And that message has been passed and relayed unto the prophets, and the prophets is relaying it, all right, unto our people, you so-called blacks, Hispanic, and Native Americans, all right, as well as Israelite foreigners. And these evacuation orders has everything to do, all right, with casting off, all right, this world, all right, spiritually, man, all right, departing from this Babylonian, all right, thought, this Western form of thought, this Edomitish, okay, form of thought, because that will get you put to death, all right, in the times that we're in and the times that we're coming into, all right, because it's a spirit, man, because we're in the time of war, and during the time of war, countries and, kingdoms leaders, would advise, and urge their citizens, their citizens, to evacuate, okay, as impending doom and destruction, all right, is set forth to come. And as a matter of fact, you have that happening and playing out in the physical right now, okay, as the United States has urged their citizens to leave, the state of Israel, all right, Trump had urged, those Iranians, y'all need to leave. It needs to be a mass exodus, because oftentimes when that happens, when those orders are given, that's because major destruction is underway. All right, and that's what's about to happen here in Babylon the Great. And this all happens for us in the spirit. We're spiritually departing from this place. We're spiritually evacuating from this place, man. Now, real quick, I want to grab this definition, evacuate. All right, evacuate. This is the most important thing, all right, that we could be doing right now, is evacuating spiritually, man. As you have the majority of our people being more invested in this world, trying to deepen their roots here, build economic wealth, they're in the spirit of mirth, they're in the spirit of, trying to establish families, they're in the spirit of trying to build homes, They're in the spirit of trying to, do all these things, which ultimately is vanity. It's vanity. As a matter of fact, before I get this definition, I want to grab this here in the book of 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter. Let me get my heart back real quick. The minds of pilgrims. We're just passing through, man.
And I did want to add, right, Yahweh, King Solomon, right, which is Yahweh Shai, if you can, receive it, right? Yahweh Shai, King Solomon, ultimately made the statement that, in Ecclesiastes, right, all things, right, let's go ahead and grab that real quick, are vanity and vexation, right? So all this shit that we see here is vanity and vexation, man. It's Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, verse 14. It says, I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. So, hey, everything here, man, is really, it's vain. Everything that we see in this world, man, right? The current state of the world, right? All these things that are of the world, all this shit is vanity and vexation, man. But I just wanted to bring that. I'll go ahead and go back.
We just passing through. We came here to serve a punishment, but our punishment is at an end. All right, we don't want to stay here, man. All right, and Yahweh Bashmal Shah has given us an escape route. Scripture speaks about the highway of holiness. Okay, that's our escape route. And ultimately, that highway of holiness is following, all right, the footsteps and the path and examples, all right, given unto us by our beloved Lord Yahweh Shah, all right, and our holy apostles and prophets, man. That's the highway of holiness. This is the book of 2nd Ezra 16 and verse 45 in the G&T. It says, anything that is done will be useless. All right? As we just stated earlier, man. All right? Whatever you try to invest in, okay, you trying to deepen your roots here in America, guess what, man? That shit is useless. It's vain. Why? Because the works and everything in it is going to be burned up very soon. So the most important thing you could be doing as a Hebrew Israelite man, woman, or child is spiritually evacuating from this place, man, as it's been commanded of us. All right, you have a lot of Israelites that know that they're Israelites, and that's the last thing on their mind. Okay, they want to be Hebrews and a Hellcat. Okay, they want to build all these schools. They want to have these fashion shows. They want to have matchmaking events at the Passover. Okay, so Jake, the majority of our people, even once again, those that know that they're Israelites, they're not following this command. They're not following this divine order of evacuating, man. All right, but the elect is, as scripture say in the book of Isaiah, the 10th chapter, only a remnant shall escape. All right, the remnant shall escape. Let's get that real quick.
And that's ultimately where I wanted to stop it, man. But he made a beautiful point, man. Right, majority of the Israelites here, in America, really in the world, are ultimately going to, choose this world, right, rather than, this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? Because it's convenient, right? It ultimately, they don't have to change, they don't have to, adapt in a sense, right? So they're ultimately gonna choose, this, really death, as the brother Isaac Mawath when it mentioned, right, that they're gonna choose the ways of the world. They're gonna choose the mindset, right, of Esau Edom, right, which again is death, right? Let's go ahead and grab this real quick. We're just flowing in the spirit. I had a couple precepts, man, but let's go ahead and grab this. Is Romans, this is Jeremiah chapter 8 and I think it's verse 3. It says, and death, right, shall be chosen rather than life by all the residue of them that remain of this evil family, which remain in all the places whither I have driven them, saith Yahweh by Hashem Shai of hosts, right? So they're going to choose death, right, which is that broad and wide path that we read about in Matthew the 7th chapter, beginning at the 13th verse, right? That broad and wide path, which is ultimately, again, you committing adultery, right? You eating all abominable foods or unclean foods, or shrimp, crab, lobster, pork, so on and so forth, right? Alligators, lions, right? People are eating these different things, and see, Jake is okay with that, man. Jake is okay with that, right? Because again, it doesn't require them, right, to walk on that straight and narrow path, right? That requires change, right? Walking on the broad and wide path means they can do whatever they want, whatever is pleasing to the flesh, they're gonna do it, right? But see, those who are truly, taking heed, right, to those evacuation orders, or the divine evacuation orders, and they're going to ultimately put off the world, right? They're not going to give in to the flesh. They're not going to, they're going to continue to fight, right? Apostle Paul said, fight the good fight of faith, right? And that's what we're going to continue to do, man, right? All the way into the end, Lord will we be of that number, man. The Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai has given out those evacuation orders, as the Elder Isaac Mawat had, is beautifully put, right? And again, only the elect is going to take heed, right, to those orders, that message, man. The rest of Jake is going to continue to, choose, the world over the scriptures, man, because we know that the scriptures, right, is what brings forth life. Right, the words of Yahweh Bashem El Shai is what leadeth unto life, man. So I like this real quick. Let me go to Baruch. Baruch chapter 4 and verse 1. It says, "This is the book of the commandments of the Most High," right? The law, statute, commandments. It says, "And the law that endureth forever, all they that keep it shall come to life. But such as leave it shall die." So you turning your back and turning, away, right, from the scriptures, turning away from the words of Yahweh Bashem El Shai, again, ultimately turning away from Yahweh Bashem El Shai directly, you're ultimately going to be put to death, man. The scriptures say that he that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. And these 2/3 of our people right here in America are spiritually dead and soon to be physically put to death by Yahweh Bashem El Shai via, right, the many different judgments that he's about to bring, forth upon the earth, which we're already seeing a large number of judgment, right, going out. Earthquakes, right? You had, I think it was a few weeks back, the brother Yawana had posted in the chat, the camp chat, that, you had farmers, right? We're talking about almost, 6 to 8 inch, thick covering of hail or snow, if you will, right, over all the crops, destroying their crops, man. Right? When you had that blizzard coming through, I think it was actually a couple months ago, man. Right? Tearing up the, America, as well as many other different things, man. Teeth of wild beast, right? Famine, right? That's coming. Even war, right? Esau coming in with his military, right? His robot army. Right? And hell, what? The ultimate judgment was his ICBM nuclear missiles being shot off and destroying America, man. Because that's ultimately the end goal, or the end game, right, for America is complete and utter destruction, right? And all those, right, that ultimately are condoning and co-signing, right, this lifestyle that's being pushed here, right, are ultimately going to be burned up with it, man. Right? Because Yahweh Bashem El Shai is not dealing with those, man. Right? Let's go ahead and jump to this real quick. In 1 John chapter 2 and verse 15, it says, "Love not the world," right? It says, "Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world," man. Right? It says, "If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him." Right? "For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world." Right, man? Right? You ultimately, again, right, living, in your lust, right? Fulfilling the lust of the flesh, right? Meaning you're not walking in the spirit as we're commanded to do, right? In Galatians, I think it's the 5th or 6th chapter, right? We're commanded to walk in the spirit, right? So that we will not fulfill the lust of the flesh, because again, right? The flesh, again, wants to do things that, again, are just pleasing to the eye, right? A woman, she looks good, even though she got a ring on, right? She still looks good, right? I still desire her, this, that, and the third. And, that's the flesh, right? But the spirit, right, will automatically identify those things, and you'll ultimately rebuke that spirit, man. And ultimately, pray and beg for forgiveness from Yahweh Bashem El Shai when those things do arise, right? Whatever situation it may be, The elect are going to be walking in the spirit versus the 2/3, right? The refuse, right, of the nation of Israel, right, is going to be walking after the flesh, man. And that's not of Yahweh Bashem El Shai, right? It says, "And the world passeth away, and the lust thereof, but he that doeth the will of the Most High abideth forever." And that's our goal, right? To ultimately do and serve Yahweh Bashim Yahushua to the best of our ability, right? So that way we may be glorified, right? When Yahweh Shai comes, man, right? Yahweh Shai receiving his glory first and foremost, right? And Lord, will we be of that number, being heirs, right, to that glory, heirs to the promise with Yahweh Shai, you know? But again, right, in order for us to be able to make that, right, in order for us to be able to, see that finish line, right, we gotta, spiritually depart from this world, man. Right? Scriptures talk about hasty to flee from these times, man. Right? Spiritually. And the priest of Mawath, man, he made it, he brought out 2nd Ezra 16 verse 45 in the GNT, and it talk about all these different things, right? These things are useless, man. The shit that's here in the world is useless. Right? Yes, bros, ultimately strive to get a better position at the job, man. But we're not making that first and foremost, man. Right? We're just ultimately serving Yahweh Bashim Shai, and going to work, doing the, as the scriptures say, right? Whatever thou do it with all thy might. Right? Do it our best when we're at work, and if the opportunity arises, we're gonna take it, right? Because it allows for us to have a little bit more money, in our pocket, which will, sort of ease, the financial hells that we deal with, but hey, we're still under the curses, man. Scriptures say that you labor to put your wages in a bag full of holes, roughly paraphrasing. So really at the end of the day, it don't matter how much money we gonna have, right? It don't matter how much money, right, we end up receiving. It's still gonna be, we're subject to payments, as you read again in Baruch the 3rd chapter, the 8th verse. We're subject to payments, man. We're still under the curses, So we understand that really, again, right, as King Solomon has said, man, that all these different things, right, are vanity and vexation, man. It really ain't. It's to no point. And again, this is why we, constantly making videos, right, encouraging, the flock, right, those that truly believe in Yahweh Bashim Shai, right, to ultimately, spiritually depart from this world, right, and set your affection on the things above, right, Yahweh Bashim Shai, and I'll go ahead and grab that in Colossians, the 3rd chapter, in verse 1. It says, if ye then be risen with Hamashiach, seek those things which are above, right? This wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? Yahweh Bashim Shai, right? First and foremost, man, right? And the mercy from Yahweh Bashim Shai. That's what we should be seeking in these times, man. And we ultimately show that by what? By getting into the scriptures, right? Seeking Yahweh Bashim Shai's face, by reading as much as possible, man. If you can't, then listen to the audio book. There's many different things that we can do for Yahweh Bashim Shai in these times, man. That'll ultimately, Lord will allow for us to be, delivered and saved, right, from the perils that are coming, right? It says, where Hamashiach sitteth on the right hand of the Most High. And here's the point. It says, set your affection on the things above, not on things on earth, right? So again, as the brother said, man, not trying to be Hebrews and a Hellcat, not trying to, work towards, a 401k or this and that, no, man, right? We don't want those things, right? Those things are ultimately, again, of the world, and those things are going to perish, all the things that are in the world are ultimately going to perish, man. Let's grab that in 1 Peter's, what is that, 3 and 10. Slakia. 2 Peter's. Second Peter 3 and 10, it says, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, right? When you least expect it, man. This is why, again, right, scriptures such as Sirach 5 and 7, make no tarrying to turn to the Lord and put not out from day to day, are being brought out. Right? Because Yahweh Bashim Shai, and when you least expect it, is going to bring forth judgment, But the elect are ultimately gonna, are gonna see it, right, through the Spirit, right? It coming through the Spirit, right? Not gonna know necessarily what day, what hour, right? But are gonna see the different signs, right, of its coming, right? Of that judgment's coming, right? Of Yahweh Bashim Shai's coming, as we do now, right? It says, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. So everything you see here, man. Yeah, having a nice car is cool. Having a brand new phone is cool, right? Getting you a house is cool. Working towards, a house, right? Saving up your money, right? Doing all these different things, right? That people desire in the world, but all those things are not wicked to have, But are you making that your first, priority? Right? Again, you got a lot of Israelites that sit there and say, that they love the Most High, so on and so forth, but yet they put the Most High last to all these things, man, to their own pleasures. And we know that Yahweh Shem El Shai is a jealous power, man. So you putting Yahweh Shem El Shai last, and well, guess what, man? The Lord will ultimately take all those things away from you, right, and destroy you. Because you ultimately worship those things rather than Yahweh Shem El Shai, man. And we're in a time where Yahweh Shem El Shai, he really has already, right, drawn that line in the sand, right? But it's being made more evident even to the average person out here, man. It was a few months back, maybe the end of last year, you had a dude sitting there saying, hey, is it safe to say that the Hebrew Israelites were right? And really, right, he alluded to GMS, because GMS, Great Millstone, beginning with the Elder Apostles, right on down, are the only ones that have been warning of these things that are coming. Right? These other camps, IUIC, ISUPK, HODC, right? ICG, ICJ, ICGJC, so on and so forth. None of these camps are prophesied, right, of the things that are coming. Only Great Millstone, man. So therefore, right, alluding to who? Great Millstone telling the truth, man. The true prophets of Yahweh Shem El Shai, right, telling you and warning you of the things that are coming, right, and letting you know, hey, these things are coming, and you better spiritually depart from this place, man. You better take heed to those the divine evacuation order, as the the brother had beautifully brought out, because we're in those times, man. You're either gonna stay here, right, and again continue to feed the flesh, or you're gonna depart and walk in the spirit, right, to the best of your ability, man. It's really, again, at the end of the day, man, the line has been drawn in the sand. What side are you gonna stand on? What side are you gonna stand on? But that's all I got, man. I just ultimately wanted to basically added my 2 cents, man, to the Priest Isaac Mawaz video, man. Beautiful video. Again, go ahead and subscribe, to the Priest page, man, and be constantly edified. Brother does videos in the morning. I try to tune in every morning, to the best of my ability, man. Brother does very edifying videos, to start the day off, on the right foot. But with that, Lord wills, edifying, Lord will, straight to the point. I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakwadash, double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone, who very well, very beautifully. Again, double salutations to the Akim out here pushing his gospel and truth and his sincerity. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. Till next time, I say shalom.